1,000 years ago, a group of people left Earth and formed the League of Free Worlds. One of the planets they settled on was XT-59, which was covered in thick, impassable swamps. But that didn't stop humans from building a city there. The city operates on a total control system that keeps everyone isolated from the outside world, enforcing constant surveillance on all interactions, and has really strict rules. The system even decides who you marry and what job you get. Christy really hated the job she was given and even more, the husband they assigned to her. So she simply left everything behind, only to be immediately captured. Christy and 8 other prisoners were taken to a special prison where they had to stand against the wall for a few minutes to be scanned. All their personal information was collected by the system and sent to the central computers for the president to verify. Then, he tells his advisors who needs to be imprisoned and why. While they finish checking everyone, the guards bring in a 10th prisoner with a bag over his head. The captain says he would love to shoot all of them, but the law doesn't let him. So instead, the prisoners will be released into the swamps. If they manage to reach 300 kilometers east, they might end up finding the Islands of Happiness, where they can find redemption. But Christy had never heard of anyone actually getting there, as the swampy lands are filled with dangers. They then take the prisoners outside, and the man with the bag is instructed to keep moving. However, being cautious, he kicks a stone and realizes that the electrified fence is still active. The man thinks they are trying to kill him and make it look like an accident. Then, the captain gives a sentence of exile and finally removes the bag so that Irvin can see again. Before leaving, the guards leave a supply box, and the captain says to leave in an hour. The conversation is interrupted when a terrifying creature erupts from the ground, shaking its branch-like body for a second before hiding again. Irvin explains that it is called a sawwort and can sense vibrations that guide its attacks. Afterwards, Irvin opens the box and the prisoners begin to push each other to get to the supplies first. Irvin only grabs a knife and tells Christy to drop what she has because she won't need it. Suddenly, Just closes the box and says that no one here could survive the swamps, so they should follow him. However, Irvin and Christy refuse to go with the group because they want to find the islands, which Just does not believe in. Before departing, Irvin asks for his share of the supplies, but Just refuses. Then, Irvin grabs and threatens to kill Kami, which would result in everyone being shot by the guards because attacking each other is against the rules. Just has no choice but to give them the food and tools, only for Irvin to surprise him by asking for just the box. He even agrees to pay with all of his food. Just accepts, and his group puts their own supplies in the provided bags to leave. Christy wants Maria to come with them, but Irvin refuses, explaining that the woman is too unstable and will only slow them down. He doubts Maria will survive and wants her to be Just's problem. Irvin shares the details about how a team of 2 is perfect for survival, and Christy realizes that he has been thinking about this for a while, so she calls him calculating. Irvin makes Christy walk in front of him because she is lighter, meaning she can find any deep swamp without getting stuck. He drags the box with a rope tied to his body. After a few hours of walking, the duo is approached by Layla, who wants to come with them and even promises to share her supplies. Irvin is considering his options when suddenly someone opens fire on them. Irvin and Christy run to hide behind some rocks, and soon the shooting stops. Layla was not hit, which means the shooter was aiming at Irvin. He tells Layla to leave since she is clearly the reason for the attack, and an angry Layla runs back to her group. Afterwards, Christy and Irvin continue their journey crawling on the ground, keeping the box behind them as a shield. Christy notices strange creatures on top of the box, but Irvin assures her that they are peaceful. Once they cross the magnetic ridge, Irvin stands up because weapons do not work there. He hides behind some rocks to spy on the other group and confirms that they are following their trail. Irvin also notices that they are missing a prisoner right when a light indicates that the installation's cannon has fired, meaning a man was left behind and killed. Christy wonders if the islands are real, and Irvin says that the captain nearly killed him with the fence is proof that they are. If the prisoners truly had no chance of survival, they wouldn't have wasted time trying to kill him. Irvin continues to assert that he knows the swamps well, but he has never been there, which Christy finds contradictory. Meanwhile, at the installation, the captain talks to the president, who is irritated because they failed to kill Irvin. Then, it is revealed that the shooter was Matthias, the prisoner who was left behind. He was actually a disguised guard, and the cannon never killed him. It was all just a ruse. Sometime later, Christy and Irvin stop to rest and drink some water. At this moment, an electrified tentacle shoots out of the ground and nearly attacks Christy, but Irvin jumps over it with his cloak to stop it. The tentacle starts to struggle, wrapping around Irvin's body and cutting into his chest. Following Irvin's instructions, Christy grabs the knife and cuts at the bottom, causing the underground creature to retreat. Irvin decides to keep the cut tentacle to use as a weapon. Afterwards, Christy cleans Irvin's wound while admitting that her crime was murder. She tried to obtain a divorce permission, and the government official tried to molest her, so she acted in self-defense. They are interrupted by the arrival of the other group, and when Just tries to steal the box, Irvin uses the tentacle as a whip to keep him away. Just's group retreats, and the duo continues their journey. A few hours later, Irvin notes that Just and his group are still following them. Christy wonders where the group is heading if Just does not believe in the islands, and Irvin theorizes that they are going to the Rotten Bank, an old prison where the social outcasts live. Suddenly, Irvin notices a sawwort emerging from the ground and tells Christy to lie down without moving or making a sound. The other group continues moving, causing the sawwort to sense their vibrations and start raising its branches. Just finally tells everyone to freeze, but it's too late. The huge sawwort bursts forth and swings its body to attack. Most of the prisoners dodge it, but Maria and Job are caught by the branches. Fortunately, Job has a knife and immediately cuts the branch to free himself, only for the creature to regenerate and create a monstrous structure in front of them. Just reminds everyone that they must stay still. However, Kaimi is terrified and flees. A branch grabs him by the ankle and keeps him in place so that the main body can come down on him, capturing Kaimi and taking him with it to its underground home. As the other branches disappear as well, Christy fights with Irvin for not warning the others about the creature. Irvin reminds her that they need to survive and forces her to keep moving. At the installation, the president tells the officers that he wants them to capture Irvin and bring him in, referring to him as the advisor. If they fail, the president will make the officers prisoners too. Sometime later, while the duo rests, Christy hears a strange sound and turns to find a terrifying sight. There is a huge cloud of small creatures approaching them very quickly. She immediately tries to run, but Irvin stops her and drags her back. When a creature almost attacks them, Irvin destroys it with the whip, then brings Christy into the box with him. The creatures soon reach their location and trample the box, making it shake. However, it is strong enough not to break and keeps them both safe until the monsters leave. As soon as they are sure it's over, the duo exits and continues traveling without the box. They soon arrive at the true swamps, then use their poles to test the ground before taking another step, allowing them to avoid sinking. Meanwhile, Just's group also arrives in the area, and Maria is having trouble advancing at an adequate pace. Just announces that they are taking a break, and Layla protests by pointing out that they will lose Irvin's trail, but Just doesn't care. Furious, Layla cuts her part of the rope and tries to leave. Soon, Just pursues her, but he is not paying attention and ends up falling into a swamp hole. Layla laughs at him while he begs for help, and Job considers rescuing him, but Layla stops him. She explains that Irvin used to be the president's advisor and has all the necessary information about this area, so they should follow him and not Just. Most of the group agrees and leaves with her, but Jan stays behind and helps Just out of the hole. Later that night, Irvin captures several insects and eats them raw, telling Christy to do the same if she wants to survive. Christy does so, although she finds the taste disgusting, and Irvin clarifies that boiling them would make them even worse. While they rest, Irvin finally shares why he was imprisoned. Layla was right. He used to be the president's advisor, and he was caught when he tried to leak some information proving the corruption in the system. In the end, Irvin turned himself in, hoping to be exiled on purpose. He knew the system couldn't function without him, so disappearing would be the most effective way to destroy it. At the installation, the captain discovers that the system is experiencing some errors causing the communications to fail. However, no one can restart it because Irvin is the only one who knows the code. Sometime later, Layla's group sees two people nearby and approaches thinking they are Irvin and Christy. However, it turns out to be two prisoners who are stuck there forever and survived by becoming cannibals. They immediately attack the group and capture Maria while the others flee. Christy can hear her scream in the distance and wants to go back for her, but Irvin stops her for being dangerous. The scream of Maria stops when the cannibals kill her with a rock. Afterwards, Christy takes a moment to mourn and wonders who could think of such a horrific punishment. Then Irvin admits that it was him. Christy considers him a monster, but Irvin points out that no one protested against the law when it was announced, so the general population is just as horrible as he is. An angry Christy continues to insult him, saying that Irvin's conscience awakened too late. Confronted with his own guilt, Irvin runs away and begins shouting to attract a creature, hoping to self-eliminate. No one appears, and Irvin thinks that not even the monsters want him, then agrees to continue guiding Christy. Still irritated, she admits that the captain offered freedom if she killed Irvin, but she refused. Meanwhile, Just and Jan find Layla's group and prepare for revenge. When Just grabs Layla by the throat, she finally confesses. The captain offered her freedom if she killed Irvin. To confirm her story, Valentin uses a scanner on her body and finds a tracker on Layla's ankle. Just announces that they need to cut it, so Layla tries to run, only to suddenly fall. When she looks behind her, she discovers a web-like creature grabbing her leg. Soon, more threads emerge from the ground and start covering Layla until she can no longer move or breathe. Just regains control of the group, and they leave while the tracker sends a message to the captain. He is pleased to learn that Layla is dead and reveals that he has an old-style weapon that will work in the swamp area, then sends Matthias with it. Returning to Just's prisoners, they watch Valentin find a bag on the ground and open it. A black substance comes out and enters his body, killing him instantly and devouring the flesh from his face. Moments later, Jan approaches Christy and Irvin, saying that he abandoned his group. Irvin doesn't believe him and is right when an object hits him in the head, knocking him down. When Irvin wakes up, he finds that he and Christy have been captured by the 3 remaining prisoners. Just explains that they are near the entrances to the rotten bank, but they need a plan to approach, or they could be ambushed. Irvin wants Christy to leave without him, but she refuses and kisses him. Then, Just lifts Irvin and carries him on his shoulders while looking for an officer, hoping to make a deal. At the rotten bank, Matthias and 2 officers arrive. They have knocked out some prisoners hiding there and interrogated another, who swore that no one new appeared recently. Suddenly, a repeating beast is fired in the darkness, killing one of the officers. Matthias and the other guard immediately retaliate, killing several prisoners and destroying half the location. Outside, Job is wandering alone, and soon the sawwort branches begin to surround him. When the officer goes out to investigate the noise, the sawwort attacks and captures him instead. In the struggle, his weapon accidentally fires and random bullets hit Job's shoulder. The weapon falls as the creature disappears with the body. Meanwhile, Just and Irvin enter the rotten bank using a secret tunnel. Just hides Irvin and goes to another room to find Matthias, asking for a deal. Matthias agrees and gives him his weapon as a guarantee of his word. When Just brings him to see Irvin, he is already gone. Matthias uses his scanner to find Irvin's location, but keeps that to himself. Just moves forward to begin the search, and Matthias prepares to shoot him, which Just hears and causes him to shoot first. However, the gun is out of bullets, and Matthias quickly knocks him down with 2 shots. Then, Matthias checks behind a curtain, thinking that is where Irvin is hiding, but the people his scanner detected are Jan and Christy. After killing Jan, Matthias captures Christy and threatens to kill her if Irvin does not come out. At that moment, Job also sneaks into the building, bringing the other guard's weapon. He meets up with Irvin and they make a plan. They leave the hiding place and Irvin agrees to surrender in exchange for Christy. Matthias lets her go, but before Job can shoot Irvin as planned, Just reappears and stabs Matthias in the head from behind. As he dies, he accidentally fires his weapon and hits Christy, but fortunately, it is just a sedative and not a real bullet. Afterwards, Irvin thanks Just, who is in great pain. He asks for Matthias's poison capsule, and Irvin hands it to him so that he can have a peaceful death. Sometime later, Christy, Irvin, and Job reach the shore and find small islands in the sea with nothing on them. Job thinks it's over, but Irvin notices that the islands are moving, meaning they are not real islands. They are merely pieces of swamp carpet and are capable of supporting their weight. The trio chooses an island to board and uses their poles to push it away from the shore, hoping it will take them toward freedom. At the installation, the president is blaming the captain for his failure when the systems begin to shut down. The captain sends another officer after Irvin, hoping to still have a chance to capture him. Back with the prisoners, Job discovers that his wound won't stop bleeding, and at this rate he will die soon. Not wanting to wait, He jumps into the sea and bids farewell to the others before a creature drags him underwater to be devoured. A few hours pass and the duo is found by the officer in an aircraft, but it is too late. The system fails again without the code, and the aircraft crashes into the ocean, sinking quickly. The duo realizes that Irvin's plan worked and the government system is falling, so they celebrate. Their happiness is interrupted when they notice a waterfall in front of them. Using Irvin's scientific knowledge, he and Christie make a cocoon using the island and hold their breath as the water throws them down. Sometime later, the waves place the duo on a different coast, which seems to be empty. Irvin knows there is a secret military installation hidden at the location, but he doesn't know the last digit of the password because the president chose him. As they will only have 2 attempts, Irvin calculates the possibilities in the sand. But Christie says he should be thinking about the last thing the president said before entering the code. Following this advice, Irvin approaches the control panel and first deliberately enters the wrong code to confirm that the system is working well. Then he enters a code using the last number the president told him, which successfully makes an entrance appear in the mountain. The duo enters and finds an aircraft ready to leave the planet. However, Irvin says there is only 1 seat, so Christie must leave without him. Christie tells him she prefers to stay with him because she loves him and kisses him. Minutes later, the couple is departing in the aircraft together as they are sharing the seat. Eventually, they arrive on another planet, and the League of Free Worlds becomes aware of the atrocities in the XT-59 system, thanks to them. Peacekeeping forces are sent to free the citizens of that planet, and in 10 years a new system takes over, but it ends up being worse.